Hello everybody, my name is Citrus, and today it's finally happening. Today I am reviewing the Sonic Movie 2. No spoilers, but that's enough intro. Why don't we just get into it? Why don't we just get into this film, this masterpiece of cinema? Let's get into the Sonic Movie 2. I'll start with a quick synopsis of what's going on in this movie. It basically starts off at the end of Sonic 1, where Sonic is still living with Tom and Maddie, and he's still trying to figure out how to use his powers well and how to use them for good. Meanwhile, Tom and Maddie have to go to Hawaii because Maddie's sister is having a wedding, leaving Sonic all alone at home. Meanwhile, Robotnik is still on the Mushroom Planet, which he was sent to at the end of the first movie, and while he's there, he meets Knuckles. Knuckles is trying to find the Master Emerald, and he thinks that Sonic is after it as well, so Robotnik's like, hey, if you hate Sonic, and I hate Sonic, why don't we team up and then we can go to Earth and, kick his ass. At the same time, Tails actually finds out about Eggman's plan and heads to Earth to go warn Sonic. And so it's basically a race against time where Sonic and Tails have to go race against Eggman and Knuckles to try and find the Master Emerald. In terms of the plot, I would say it's your standard Sonic fare. This is a very classic storyline for Sonic. It really doesn't do much to subvert your expectations or do anything too crazy. It's playing it by the book. Now I'm going to start with the pros of this movie, and then we'll get into some of the cons of this movie. And one of the best things about this movie is that all the main characters are really likable. Obviously Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, they're all great. Knuckles in particular was a really fun character to see on screen. He's very serious in the movie, and they definitely lean into the whole tribal thing with him. It leads to some pretty funny moments, like Knuckles tries to shake people's hands. Whenever he does, he breaks their entire wrist. Or Knuckles seeing a hologram for the first time and trying to smash it. And Idris Elba just brought such a great energy to Knuckles and to his character. He really just sounded like he was having a lot of fun recording these lines. And actually another character that I was not expecting to like as much as I did was Tom. I didn't really care for Tom in the first movie. I saw him as more of a means for Sonic to get around and for the things in the movie to happen, really. But in this movie, he's actually genuinely pretty funny and is overall just really likable. Not that he wasn't in the first movie, but in here there are just more moments where I'm like, God, Tom's kind of fun. And one of the most important things about these CGI live-action style movies is that these human characters don't take away from the main appeal of the movie, that being Sonic. And Tom does that really well. He does not try and take up too much of your time. He doesn't take up too much plot relevance. He's there, he has a couple lines, he helps Sonic out, but he is not trying to be the main focus, which is really something I cannot say for some of these other human characters. But we'll get to that when we get to the con section, because first, we need to talk about the action in this movie, which is probably some of its best moments. In the first movie, while the action wasn't bad, it felt like a lot of the same stuff. Getting chased by Eggman, getting chased by a different car. It didn't really feel like there was much real action going on, or really any fights that happened. But here, we get not only a lot more action, but better and more fun action. We get proper fights between Sonic and Knuckles and Eggman, and they're really fun to watch. And of course the CGI goes absolutely crazy for these parts, so yeah, they are definitely some of the highlights of the film. The writing was pretty decent. It's pretty much on par with the first movie. You got your good moments, funny jokes, as well as your pretty terrible moments and lazy fart jokes. I really wish they got rid of some of those moments with the sequel, but it was more of an eye-roll type moment rather than something that ruined the entire movie for me. And of course, one of the most fun things about the first movie were all the little Easter eggs and references that they hid to the games, and this movie is no exception. You had small stuff like the coffee shop being named the Mean Bean, or the helicopter being labeled SA2, but then there's also bigger stuff like introducing Gun in this movie, or other references that I will not bring up for the sake of not spoiling the movie. Of course, references aren't the most important things when it comes to making a movie, but the ones that were here were pretty cute and I enjoyed them. But here's the part where we get into the cons. And probably my biggest con for this movie is just its pacing. It's really hard to describe without going into spoilers, but essentially cool stuff will be happening in this movie, and you'll be getting like really invested, you'll be following it, and then suddenly they hit you with 15 minutes of uninterrupted human drama going on that you really don't care about. There were a few times in this movie where I just kind of felt like I tapped out with what was going on screen. I was just waiting for the next cool thing to happen, for Sonic to show up again. It just feels like a complete step backwards from the first movie, where they really balanced the Sonic and human stuff that was going on. It was mostly a Sonic movie, whereas here it feels like they were trying to push for more human stuff, which is not why anyone is going to watch this movie. The first movie was about an hour and a half, and this one was 2 hours, and I feel like it really could have gone down to an hour and a half, just like the first one, if they had cut out some of those really unnecessary scenes. Or better yet, how about use those scenes to advance some of your main characters, like Tails, who had not much screen time in this movie. He was there, and he had some lines and did some important things in the plot, but really it felt like he didn't have much of a presence, and certainly not as much as Knuckles, which is just a shame because Tails was kind of the teaser at the end of the first movie. He got everyone excited for what the second one could be, so it just kind of sucks to see him put off to the sidelines to make way for Knuckles to be like the main draw, especially just in terms of Tails' origin story and how he becomes friends with Sonic. They really just blast through it. You have like one line of Tails where he mentions like where he comes from and why he knows Sonic, and of course Sonic just immediately becomes best friends with Tails, no questions asked, which feels really weird and rushed. If they cut out a lot of that time where the humans are just talking and doing their own nonsense, we could have had some really great stuff with Sonic and Tails bonding on their way to go stop Knuckles and Eggman. And the last issue I had was more of a smaller one, but it was one that kind of irked me, and that is just how they explain the lore. Now, I'm not mad that some of the lore in the movies are different than the games. I'm totally fine with that. My problem is just how they explain it. Like a lot of the stuff with the Master Emerald or the Echidna tribe or Longclaw's tribe, they kind of just do like one big info dump on it in the whole movie, and that's kind of all the explanation you get. Even after the movie was over, there were a couple things that I was just lost on and still don't really know. Either they didn't explain it, or I somehow missed it in like the one bit of dialogue that they gave it. And just thinking about one scene in particular in the movie, it kind of feels like they're expecting you to know enough about Sonic to understand what's going on in that scene, which of course isn't a problem for me, but just in terms of a general audience thing, it seems kind of weird that they wouldn't really explain that part. But that's pretty much the end of my critique. Overall, this was a really fun movie. The action was fun, the comedy was fun. Just seeing Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, all three of them on the big screen, was such a treat. Of course, it had some dull moments, it had some cringy jokes, had some baggage left over from the first movie, but overall I would definitely say it's better and way more fun than the first movie. And that end credit scene? I don't want to bring anything up. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm not going to say anything here. But just stick around after the cool credits, the animated credits. There's definitely something you're gonna want to see. But anyways, those are my thoughts on the Sonic movie 2. It was really fun, I really enjoyed it, but let me know your thoughts down below. If you're planning on seeing it, if you've already seen it, let me know all your thoughts down below, and if you have seen it, please keep those comments spoiler free. We want this to be a safe zone for anyone who does not want to get spoiled for this movie. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, click that like button, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. We have so much more Sonic content to offer, so much more Sonic content on the way. In fact, my last video got a ton of views, which I was definitely surprised by. Thank you guys so much for that. Thank you for any new subs who joined, and if you would also like to sub, please hit that button. But yes, again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all later. Peace.